Hi, Mark Phillips here. Welcome to another video wine blog. This is the second in the series of how to taste wine, and this one's about aroma. Oh, wow, this is everything. Aroma is everything in tasting wine. You think, since it's called tasting wine, that it would be in the mouth, once you put the wine in your mouth, but no. What really makes wine an orgasmic experience is all in the aroma. It's really the smell. And I want you to see, I'm not going to read the quote to you, I'm just going to have you read the quote on your screen that's coming up right here. Go ahead. That eloquent quote expressed by Helen Keller so vividly says what many of us experience when exposed to aroma. Smell is the sense that reaches deeply and quickly into our emotional center to evoke feelings and memories of our past. Smell brings up the past like no other sense. The studies show that. Sight, touch, hearing, taste, none of those equals a sense of smell in making us remember moments in our past. Our sense of smell, our olfactory system is fully mature at birth. It's the only one of our senses that's fully mature. That after just 2 days of being born, the baby already can detect the scent of the mother and differentiate the scent of the mother versus other women, or even if in animals, the mother, whoever, whatever. So the smell is everything. I mean, what they can do now with smells that they inject into the workplace or anyone, even dating, the smell of someone makes such an impact to a person. Whether you realize it or not, whether you're aware of it, it's huge. Whether it's perfume they wear or their natural body aroma, the smell's everything. I mean, we know that lavender and vanilla makes you relax. If you want to be relaxed, you burn candles or have some kind of a, incense with that. Peppermint gives you energy and performance. A mixed floral kind of aroma is great for learning, and green apple seems to reduce migraines. There's lots of stuff that's been studied and shown to make a huge difference on us as far as the sense of smell is concerned. And so in wine, the same thing. You can go through your whole life drinking wine, but until you really stop and smell the wine like the roses, and that's why that saying's around there, to slow down, don't just take a glass and drink it. If you can stop and smell the wine the proper way, it will change your life, certainly your appreciation for wine. And maybe the practice of stopping and slowing down and smelling wine may translate in other parts of your life, because really it's so critical to smell wine. The orgasmic experiences that people have does not come from the taste in wine as much. That's a big part too, and they both have to be good, but the real joy is in the aroma. And the aroma, I hate to go here, but the aroma is like foreplay of the whole tasting process. It is, and when you don't have foreplay in sex, yeah, sex can be good, but you want the foreplay, and the aroma is the same step. You have to have it to really round out the experience and make it better. Now, how do you smell wine properly? Well, I'll tell you what, this doesn't cut it. With your nose over the glass like this, you don't get much aroma. The whole point of tasting wine is to get as much information as possible from the wine. So the way to properly smell wine, there are two things you really want to do. One, you want to make sure your nose is all the way in the glass. You want to, that glass, the top and the bottom there, the rim, should be hitting your face. You want to push your nose all the way in the glass as far as possible. Obviously, you don't want too much wine in the glass, otherwise you could drown. I have seen people drown because they would put their nose in and they... So you don't want to have too much wine in the glass whenever you taste wine. And it's key to have a good glass. And of course, this is my glass that I created, which is the ultimate glass in the world. But you want to make sure you have a wine glass versus a pint beer glass or what other kind of glass you'd have. This is where a good wine glass is kind of key. So you just got to pour, this is very little, about an ounce right there, 2 ounces would be fine, whatever. Usually a 1-to-5 ratio would be about right, of how many ounces a glass holds and how many ounces you pour. And so the key is to get your nose all the way in the glass. Now when I learned how to taste wine, it was over in France. When I had my first glass of wine, I immediately flew to France, I swear. And in France, I watched the big boys taste wine. And when they would swirl, when they put their nose in the glass, they never, for some reason, never put their nose in straight away like this. They'd always tilt, left or right, because they thought that one nostril was better than the other in smelling wine. I don't know. I didn't know, and I was very impressionable. So I thought that's pretty cool. So for some reason during that trip, that was back in 1990, I chose to go left. So whenever I smell wine, I'm really into it, I swirl and I go with my left nostril. So whatever you want to do is okay. Go straight in, go right, go left, try it all the different ways. Maybe if you're clogged up in one, you go the other, up to you. But it's kind of cool, when you tilt, I think. It just kind of adds a little bit of spice to the tasting process. So anyway, but the key thing is you want your nose all in the glass because you're trying to get as much aroma as possible. And you don't get much aroma when your nose is above the glass. The second thing, which you probably already know what's going to happen here, that you have to do when you smell wine is to swirl the wine. And next time you have wine, if you don't have wine right now, you could always pause and get some wine in a glass because you can do it with me. White or red, I don't care. But try smelling wine without swirling. Just take the glass like this and put your nose in there. Take a big whiff and think about how much aroma you get out of the bowl. Then swirl the wine. Now the easiest way to do that is on a table. The table's right here, but you can't see that. But I'll use my hand. By making small circles on a top, the wine whips around just properly. Another reason not to have too much wine in the glass, otherwise the wine could spill over the top. And if you don't have the thing, if you can just do it in the air, the same thing, just making small circles, and the wine whips around. Now I want you to whip that wine around for about 5 seconds. Really get it going, and then smell it again, and you'll see a huge difference. You'll get so much more aroma out of the bowl than you did it when you didn't swirl the wine. Now, if the wine is kind of average, if it's box wine or yellowtail or 2-buck chuck or whatever, when there's not much aroma there, then you're not missing much by not swirling it because there's not much there. But when a wine's got something behind it, when a wine is really good and has that complexity, holy smoke, it's unbelievable the difference. When you get a great wine, that aroma kind of trails up, it's got length to it. It kind of goes up your nose and into your brain, and it opens up like fireworks in your head. It's just amazing what happens. And it just kind of stops you in your tracks because, wow, what am I smelling? It's amazing. That's what, this one moment is what turns people nutty about wine in a good way, is because of a wonderful aroma from a great wine. And even though you may not be having a great wine, you want to get into the habit of that first pour of a wine, no matter what. And this doesn't happen to be an expensive wine, doggone it. Not that expensive wine makes it a good wine, but it doesn't have to be a complex wine. This is nothing special in my glass here. But still, you want to get in the habit of doing that because you'll learn in succeeding videos about how to get an understanding of wine. And it's by doing the tasting process and then kind of making mental notes. So you need to make mental notes about the inexpensive wines as well as the expensive wines, the cheap wines, and the good wines, etc. You need to compare those. So even though you might be having a yellowtail poured in your glass or another wine that maybe you're fond of or not too fond of, inexpensive, you want to do the tasting process anyway, just so you know what an inexpensive wine smells like, and what year it is, and what grape variety it is. All that makes a difference in the aroma of wine. So the key thing is when you get a wine, it's to swirl and then nose all the way in the glass for a big whiff. And really, once you start doing that, you know, right now I can't have wine without swirling. As soon as wine gets in my hand, my whole body, my arm just naturally swirls, because I've learned early on from the traditionalists, from the snobs, but nevertheless it was a pretty good lesson anyway, that, pardon me, how important it is to smell wine, to swirl it, and to slow down, take a big whiff and think about it. And wine changes so much, even, well, maybe not inexpensive wine or cheap wine as much, but wine does change once air hits it. And as you're drinking through that bottle of wine, you finish the first glass, the second glass, pour a little bit again, just like this. And just go through the 4-step tasting process. And then when you do that, then, you know, fill the glass up and drink. This tasting process is only just to understand the wine one time. When you first open the wine, pour a little bit, go through the process, and then fill it up and drink. Finish the glass. Next glass, I'd recommend pouring a little bit and tasting again to see if how the wine changed. The wine, I'm sure, will change to some degree, but how much it's changed. And that's what's kind of fun part about wine. That really adds a whole new dimension to experiencing wine, doing the tasting process throughout consuming a bottle of wine. Way cool. Make sure you stop or slow down and smell the wine. All right, see you.